Good morning. Nice to see you all. Thank you all for coming to see this little show. It's good to see you all. How many of you love networking? Who loves it? God, look at that. Not. So am I assuming then that the rest of you, of course you do, how many, the rest of you are not so keen on networking? Don't like it too much? Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it?
Starting the conversation.
Yeah?
I'm very good on my subject, but warming up a conversation or encroaching on a group of other people that are very competent in their own conversation, how do I get involved?
Well, that's great. Barry, you're doing a fantastic job now. So that's all good. That's great. It's all good. So we're going to look at networking. We're going to talk a little bit about the dark side of it as well. And really, there are no hard and fast rules or hard techniques to networking. Really and truly, you just have to try and get on with people. And there is an argument to saying that networking is a bit of a performance. You've got to put on a bit of a mask, and sometimes you have to be the physical embodiment of your business. You've got to be a walking, talking, living, breathing advert for your business. So you need to have lots of different things prepared before you walk into any form of networking event. And there's lots and lots of them out there. This one is a particularly good one. There's nice people here, I can say that now, and then when I walk out the room I go, they're just horrible people. But actually you're nice people, but some networking events you can go to are slightly different. You get some that you have to pay to go to, or you have to take referrals to, all of those types of things. And anything that adds a layer of pressure, really I don't think is needed. I think it's just about getting to know people as much as you can. So I'm going to give you some techniques that will probably build your confidence a little bit. And this forms part of sales training. So there is an element of selling that needs to be done here. So we all love selling, don't we? Yeah? Sorry, what? Yeah, we love selling. If you don't love selling, well, you're not going to love networking, because networking ultimately is your first stage in selling. And the reason we network is to help furnish our business with more clients so that it makes us more money. And in the end, that's the reason why we're in business. Yes? Yes? So you can nod, or you can say yes. So that's the reason we're in business, yes? Yes, that's right. Brilliant. So, bit of extra reading for you as well if you want to find out a bit more and read around the subject. I found this the other day, and I hadn't seen this for donkey's years. This is called The Art of Making Friends by Carol Stone. I read this years and years ago. It's one of those books a bit like The 1 Minute Manager that's been knocking around for years. But the stuff that's in here is really good. And she does talk about doing networking at home and doing coffee mornings and doing those types of things and doing stuff really small. But then she talks about events as well. And there's some really neat stuff in here. Very, very good. The stuff that I think is really exciting is stuff that's usually written by people who understand behavioral psychology and understand what makes people tick. This guy is ex-FBI, and it's called the like switch. It's how to get people to like you, how to engage with people. And when you see stuff that's written by people who come from crime backgrounds or investigative journalism, those types of things, you can usually get a real handle on human behavior, and these guys are terrific at it. So it's well worth having a look at. Feel free to have a little rummage around as well. You'll notice as well that I've put business cards on the table for you, so have a little look at those as well if you want to, bit of shameless advertising. And I did ask the rest of you to get your business cards out. So I'd like you to just do an exercise for me, please, which means you all have to stand up. Up you get. Oh my God, what's he getting us to do? Could I ask you, please, to have your business card, if you have it, in your left hand? In your left hand. Yeah? If you haven't got a business card, pick up one of mine off the table. Have a little look at it, it's nice. Have it in your left hand. And then what I want you to do is, with the hand that you shake hands with, which is usually your right hand, can you please hold it out in front of you? All right? And say as loud as you can, shaking your hand. Yeah? It is very nice to meet you. What do you do? All together now. It is very nice to meet you. What do you do? That's right. Or you can do it this way. Up in the air. Up in the air, look as high as you can, and say, it is very nice to meet you. What do you do? Do it again. It's very nice to meet you. What do you do? And then take your card and throw it in the air. Do it. Go on. Brilliant. Marvelous. And the reason that you just did that is because that's how effective most networking is if you don't put some form of plan behind it, because you may as well shake hands with the bloody clouds. It's true, isn't it? How many business cards do you end up going through? How many networking events do you go to where you think, oh, this is going to be good? You meet a few hands, people play the game, you know, do all of that stuff, and then you come away and no one gets in contact, or you don't follow up and you think, well, that was a complete waste of time. That was a complete waste of membership. And the fact is, you've got to make it happen for yourself. You've got to do a little bit of planning and preparation, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So have a seat. Don't scrape your chairs, children. And you on the sofas, don't scrape your chairs. So, best thing about networking, of course, is we drink a lot of coffee. All of you that are business owners, how much money, when you look at your annual budgets, have you spent on coffee? It's inordinate, isn't it? It's inordinate. No wonder so many people go into decaf, but there is a lot of coffee that's out there, and you do need to drink a bit of coffee. So this morning, we're going to be looking at how we work the room, and we're going to be looking at some elements that will give you some key benefits to doing it. So when we think about this, and I had to do this in Keynote this morning because it's easier for them to record. But remember that when you are networking, networking does put you on the business stage. It does put you out there. It does mean that you're going to put that element of performance and represent your business. It will really heighten any form of confidence that you have. And once you get used to going around with some form of elevator pitch, some form of introduction that you have, it can really make you feel confident. And as someone who at school was bullied quite heavily, who was really, really shy, years and years of working in things like advertising sales, working in hospitality, where you are forced to get in front of people and talk to them really builds your confidence. And it is a case of practice makes perfect. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. Of course, it creates new contacts, and you should be able to gather up as many business cards as you can. So today, for example, there's business cards lying all over the floor. I see a few here and there, and you might want to be nicking those and picking those up, and then contacting the people, make the business card work. It creates new customers, which is what you definitely want. It's definitely going to bring in new money, and sometimes we have to think about money, and we have to talk openly about money. It's vulgar, but at the end of the day, we have to talk about it because that's why we're in business. It does create advocacy. And if you can leave a good impression with people, they will talk about you. And you need to be talked about. What was it Oscar Wilde once said? He said, it's better to be looked over than to be overlooked. So whenever you go out networking, make sure you're looked over. Make sure people are checking you out, because you want to leave a form of impression on them that's really, really good. Because if they talk about you, they're going to talk about you to other people. If they talk about you and they advocate you, that turns into a referral. And that's the holy grail of networking and sales. Would you agree? Yeah, of course it is. So the last bit is it's quite addictive as well. And we do have to be a bit careful with networking, because you could spend an awful lot of time going around networking, and actually get no work done. And I know a lot of people who've started out in business who spend a lot of time going to different networking events, but don't actually spend much time doing much work. So we've got to make sure we get that balance right. So when we reach out to the world and we go to a networking event, we need to be thinking about the lead up to the event, the before, and the bit that we do before all of that to get ourselves ready. We've got to think about what goes on during the event, and we've got to think about what happens after, because there's definitely a process. So for those of you that might have read some of my blogs and know what I talk about when I deliver sales training, sales is all about channeling your inner wolf. Now, this is kind of the dark side of sales that you may not feel comfortable about, and it's entirely up to you how you focus it, but I believe that every salesperson has an inner wolf in them. They have a thing inside them that makes them hunt for the business. And if you can hunt the business down and you can catch it, and as what's-his-face says, Bear Grylls says on the island, you can hunt it, you can catch it, and you can kill it and find it, then that's really good. And your inner wolf will allow you to do this. And we'll talk about some techniques around the inner wolf stuff a little bit later. But remember why you're doing this. It's all about getting new business. So before an event, things we need to think about. You need to choose your event quite carefully. What will make you go to a specific business event? What are the key factors that will make you go, that seems like a good event to go to? What are they?
Knowledge.
Yeah. Knowledge?
Yeah, knowledge.
Yeah, good. Anything else?
Quality of the speaker.
Quality of the speaker is good. Yeah, anything else?
Relevant.
It's got to be relevant. Yeah, anything else? Not too what? Not too late. Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. No, evening networking, I've never been a bit of a fan of, 9 o'clock in bed with your jammies, that's what we want to do, night tea. Yeah, early doors is all right. Early doors is all right and fine. What else? What else constitutes a good networking event? Right, so a good recommendation. If someone else has been there and it's worked for them, it's definitely worth going to. So sometimes you can go to networking events like this, where you genuinely get a chance to meet people, but then you get the types of networking events which are like the business expos, where people are doing the old, they've set up the stand and they're doing all of that. What do you think of the quality of those? Do you think they're good? You're saying no. Why no? Yeah. Yeah. And do you know what? It can be quite irritating for people who are exhibiting because they've got people that are coming round trying to sell to them. And whilst it is a good way to meet people, remember that their priority is not you. So the follow-up rate on those is very low because their priority is really more magnified than what yours is, but it's the same kind of thing, if that makes sense. So we've got to be thinking about that. You need to tell the world where you're going as well. So if you choose to go to a networking event, make sure that you use the ultimate form of networking, which is social networking. So everyone needs to know where you are. And Twitter is probably the most powerful in order to tell people where you're going. So when it comes to going to an event, think about the rule of 3. Tell them where you're going, tell them where you are right now, and tell them where you've just been. It creates a timeline on Twitter and it keeps interest going. Use the past tense, present tense, and future tense to drive how you communicate where you are to your customers. It creates interest. And also, it tells people where they can find you as well. They can also talk to other people who go there and say, what was that person like? What did they do? All of that type of stuff. So it's really quite interesting to do that. So you've got to tell the world what you're doing. You've got to have an outcome for going as well. And your outcome has got to be really clear. Is it that you're just going there to shake hands with the clouds? Is it that you're just going there because you want to have a presence there? You want to go round and you just want to be seen to be being there, in which case that's fine, but it's not overly productive. Or do you actually want to go there and make new friends? Are you going there to press a card in someone's hand, shake their hand, do all of that nice stuff? Are you looking to do that? You must have an outcome. Business card basics, you've got to have your business cards done as well. The business cards are important, but making your business cards work is really important. You should have business cards which are printed on both sides, but the side that has your contact details on should always be presented face down, never face up. Your logo and your brand should be on top because that's really important. Your brand is everything, your brand and your name. So as such, every time you hand a card, you would hand them the card and say, there's my card, my contact details are on the other side. Forces them to look and it creates the mechanism of turning over the card. It's a bit like when we work in magazines. We want people to turn the page to keep reading. You want to create the turn the card over. It's tiny details, but it makes all the difference. Research who will be there. If you can find out who's going to be on the list, then that can allow you to prep and find out more. It also means that you can look them up on LinkedIn and you connect with them too. There's no reason these days not to have some form of name to be able to find somebody. LinkedIn allows you to do that. You don't have to connect with them if you don't want to, but it's really good if you can say, I've seen you on LinkedIn, I know what you do, and you have a bit of research on someone, especially if you're targeting someone specifically. Think about what you'll leave in people's minds, and in turn, think about your elevator pitch. These last two go together. How many of you understand the concept of the elevator pitch? Yeah? You have one ready? You have one? You have one? Scott? I'm not asking you to do it. You used to? Yeah. Yeah? Who else has got? You've got an elevator pitch? Use it? Yeah? Of course you do. Trained you to sell. Right. You've got to have an elevator pitch, and it looks like this. This is what an elevator pitch does. It's based on the concept that if you were stuck in a lift with a decision maker, you would have probably about 30 seconds from the time it gets to the ground floor to get to the top floor in order to get your point across. And it operates on 5 different levels, and it starts from the bottom here. First of all, you've got to tell them who you are. So that's your name, your business name, and your vision, what you do. Then going into what you do, a clear description that links the core benefit. Then how you do it, your methodology, how you go about doing stuff. This is kind of a bit like your USP. Then you've got to put in what you actually deliver, and these are the solutions that you offer. And lastly, who you work with, because that can create some form of relevance and referrals to clients. So whenever you do an elevator pitch, you want to be able to have it in your mind, and it should last around about 20 to 30 seconds. So when I do one, it's quite simply, hello, my name is Simon Hares. I run a business called SerialTrainer7. I tend to train a lot of people in a classroom environment on sales and management and everything that crosses in between. I deliver it in classroom, one-to-one seminars and coaching, and I deliver training that actually makes a difference to people's bottom line. It's about making money or it's about saving money. Types of people I work with large organizations including the NHS. I do things like large private companies like Fitness First. I work with all these big companies and I deliver training into them. So you just get your key points across as quick as you can. That's all you do. But that will only happen when somebody says, tell me about what you do. You've got to let them ask you. You don't force it on someone. When you go to a networking event, don't immediately walk up to someone and go, hello, nice to meet you, how are you? My name's Simon, I do this, and you just jam it down the throat because they're just going to, will you just back off? We don't want that. We don't want that. Remember that this is all about building the relationship and building contacts first of all. So when we think about this inner wolf that we've got as well, we've got to think about how fierce you are. And I wrote a blog a couple of years ago based on this, which is called Are You Fierce Enough? It's on the website. And it focuses on this concept of fierceness. And fierceness says that whilst you're working and whilst you're networking, you've got to make sure that you've got a proper focus on what you do. Make sure you're completely focused on the outcome and what you're delivering. And then what you do is you intensify it, but you do it with integrity. Always remember that you're dealing with people here. These are people who you want them to give you your money, their money. So as such, be good to them and do it with integrity, but really magnify it and intensify it. Get your emotions up, get excited, get caffeinated, get passionate. We want people to engage with us and have the impression left that that person seemed really passionate about what they do. I would want to do business with that person. They clearly deserve my money. That's what you want to leave. You've got to be radical, you've got to think a bit differently and do things a bit crazy, but you've also got to be quite resilient as well, because you need to be able to take the knockbacks, and you mustn't take those personally. For every person that says yes to you, there'll be another 10 that say no, and you just got to, deal with that. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just part of business life. You've got to relentlessly campaign. You've got to keep advertising, keep going out there. And I don't mean spending money on literally print advertising or things like that, although that's all good stuff. You've got to be keeping on advertising yourself, keep branding yourself, commit to it and concentrate as well. Make sure you focus all of that. And lastly, make sure you evaluate what you've done on a regular basis. I usually spend once a month sitting down, looking back at my diary, exactly what's worked, exactly what hasn't, and where am I going to go next. Because if we think about the lessons we've learned from what's gone on before, we can change and adapt our style. Does that make sense? And this blog will help you do that. So you're welcome to have a little look at that. You'll get all these notes as well afterwards. I'll get those sent to you. But this is kind of the skeleton of this. So during the event, when you rock up to the event, you're going to be presented with lots of different things. Remember, you should have told the world where you were going, and now you're going to tell the world where you currently are. And the world of the selfie plays a really good role. So make sure you're taking lots of selfies, taking pictures of people you want to target, and get them on social media. You're advertising for them. They love that. So make sure you keep doing it. Make sure that when you arrive at a venue, you read the room as best you can. And when I say read the room, you need to look for shapes. There's two shapes you have to look for at a networking event. The first is the circle. The second is the crescent or half moon. The circle of people is basically keep out. We are a group of people, we are very happy talking, and we're not looking for new friends at this stage, thank you. But there are semicircles of people who talk, and they are open to you walking up to them. So sometimes when you see a room and you see circles of people, you think, oh, I'm not going to get anywhere with these people. The minute you see that circle break, that's your in, because the shape then changes into a semicircle or a broken circle. And that's what you need to be looking for. It plays a really, really big role. And if you can get an elevated position, I mean, can you imagine just going to a networking event and go, just a second, I'm just reading the room. You look over there, that's where I'm going. Coming over there. You know, that's not what you're going to do, but you do need to be able to see what's going on around you and try and look at the room. And the same comes if you go to weddings as well, and we all love a wedding, don't we? So, you know, go to a wedding, you know, lots of people you haven't seen there for a long time and genuinely we probably don't care about, but you go there, you get the cake, and then, you know, you've got to work the room a little bit. It's good practice. So make sure you read the room with shapes. Target the familiar people first. And we make sure we go over, we shake a hand, we do the air kiss, we do the hug, we do all of that first. Because to an outsider, what does that look like if you're doing all of that stuff? What does it look like? Yeah. Looks like you're connected, it looks like people know you, and therefore people will look at you and go, well, why don't I know you? How can I get to know you? So as such, it plays a nice role, but you do it in a very nice way. Don't do it quietly. You know, effervesce with people, put some passion into it, be excited to genuinely see people, because you'll be bloody well excited when they sign the contract which says they're going to engage you. So, you know, start the excitement soon. Listen to the handshake. I've talked to you before about the handshakes. The handshakes are really important, and when we shake someone's hand, we make a judgment call on them. We know that people who are driven by results will shake your hand very, very firmly. They'll shake it very firmly. But the clue to identifying people who will be driven by results is that they will turn your hand over. So they shake your hand and they turn it to get what's called the upper hand. When they do that, what they're saying to you is, I am driven by results, I fear failure, so make sure you get to the point quickly. That's what they're doing. And it's that twist that you need to look for. If you get people who are very effusive when they talk to you, so they shake your hand, and then what they do is they cover your hand with their other hand, or they work their way up your arm. Not that, but yeah, bit of huggy, bit of air kiss, all of that type of stuff. That's all really good. But what that tells us is that that person is driven by people, and they are key influencers. They are the type of people who like to get on with other people, and relationships are very important. It also says that those people are motivated mostly by public praise and recognition and would fear rejection more than anything else. So as such, they like to be recognized. They don't like being hurt. You then get people who fit a profile where they are motivated by a sense of steadiness and security. They're quite boring on the surface, but they're really backbone people. They're very dependable and very reliable. And their handshake is pretty much run-of-the-mill. It's everything you'd expect. It's not risky. It's just a regular handshake. And as such, it says that I'm here, it's fine, I'm just being who I am. It's quite a difficult one to read because some people mask their behavior. But actually, when you shake a hand and you just get a regular one, it's a sign that you shouldn't present anything that is risky. Be careful of risk. And then the last one is the handshake we all love the most, which is that lovely wet lettuce. We love that one, don't we? Feels like they've licked their hand beforehand. Oh, we love that. And then when they shake your hand, they shake your fingertips. It's like, why are you shaking my fingernails? You know, what's the matter with you? You know, shake my bloody hand, you know? But they're doing it, and there's a reason why they do it. Often these people who shake your hands that way are not motivated necessarily by people. What they're motivated by is rules, regulations, and procedures. And as such, they have a high compliance profile, and they're usually pretty tough as well. So they like to have evidence and proof and substantiation that what you're talking about is real. So they'll ask you things like, how do you know that? How can you back that up? They're really going to work on those proof elements. And so far, what they'll do is they're not going to engage with you as people, they're going to engage with what you do. So the resonation is going to be around the proof. And the handshake tells you a lot about that. So it's definitely worth reading about these things. And most of the time, it's right. I've got a clutch of chaps who do work for us on a property we've got in Bristol, and they've all got really, really weak handshakes. They're not necessarily the cheapest, you know, plumbers, chippies, and sparkies, but my God, are they good. But they've all got this weak handshake in common that says they're all compliant and everything is up to code, which works really well. So I use it and it tends to work. So look at the handshake. And then what we do is we engage this thing called SEAL. SEAL is what I call my networking body language action. Smile. So all of you smile at me right now. Come on, tits and teeth, ladies. Come on. Bring it in. That's what Radha teaches. Smile. Big smile. That's what we like. Nice smile. In the animal kingdom, it says, back away, I'm aggressive. In our kingdom, it says, welcome, we are pleased to see you. So big smile. Eye contact, really important. Now we're talking about eye contact. No one's going to look at me because you're going to be all freaked out. But eye contact plays a really big role. Eye contact is important. You should look at people in the eye. If you want to put a point across, as you look at someone, lift your chin as you say it. It puts your point across with authority. It's called the power gaze. It lifts your chin. If you want to really flirt with somebody, bring your eyes down. You know, when ladies say, my eyes are here, you know, what you need to be doing is you need to be looking around the heart area and just drop your eyes to the heart, because it says, I engage you as an individual, as a person. I want you to love and like me. So eye contact plays a really, really big role. If you want to play it really safe, just look people in the eye and look to the left and look to the right, and then focus on the center of their nose. But as you go on and you want to put a point across, you learn these additional things. So smile, eye contact, acknowledge them, acknowledge what they're saying, and always let the other person speak first. Get them to do most of the talking. Don't push yourself on them, let them do their intros first. Listen, really important, obviously, but remember, when we listen to people, we are doing it with a view to understanding and remembering. It's all very good listening to people, but if you don't remember what they're saying to you, and worst of all, you don't remember them, that's not very good. So, smile, eye contact, acknowledge, listen, last one, engage, and that's you then turning on your bit after they've done all of theirs. So you use this seal mechanic. Making small talk. Who loves making small talk? Anyone any good at it? No. It's very easy. It's very easy. Just ask things like, how are you? How are you finding the event? What is it that you do? Ask lots and lots of open questions. It's traditional sales training, that's all it is. But if you want to keep the conversation going, pepper your conversation with, and how do you go about doing that? And why is that important to you? And why do you do it that way? Because what that does is it uncovers the real beliefs about what people are doing, and it's a lot more exciting. So you might come away with someone thinking you were tremendously interesting, but what you did was let them talk about themselves. You really never said a word. But the fact is you came across as someone who should, you know, be talked to, but you actually never said a word. And that's quite a nice magical art that you can get going with people when you meet them for the first time. And it all comes through this seal mechanism here. There is a blog again on my website called Don't Sweat the Small Talk, which has got a lot of information about small talk. There isn't time for us to do it all this morning, but there's shed loads on there for you to read. Use your elevator pitch and understand the types of customers that you're going to deal with. When you think about the types of customers, and we're going to come to the types of people you'll deal with in a second, when you are working the room and you're dealing with networking, you've got to engage this wolf again. And I like to use these mnemonics which are called wolf and prey. And they focus on this. The first one is on wolf. When you arrive at a venue, yes, you've got to look at shapes, but wherever you go, first of all, walk the floor. Take in everything and walk the perimeter. Go all the way around and check out what the size of the venue is and how contained it is. It allows you to understand what you're dealing with. When you go to big events or exhibitions, you should always walk the floor first to give yourself a mental map of what you've got to work with. Does that make sense? So understand the size of the venue you've got. One of the good things you can do is find someone straight away and deal with them. But the minute you start talking to people and getting on with people, that's great. But if you haven't got an idea of how big the venue is, that's not so good. So you need to kind of take your time and walk the floor. You need to observe everything that's going on. Watch people, watch their body language, watch the people who are open, watch the smilers, watch the loud talkers. Those are the people that you can target first. They're probably easier to talk to and will be more open to talking to you. They're what I call your practice prey. They may not necessarily buy from you, but they're definitely people that you can talk to and you can get on well with, and it helps to get over any nerves or worries or confidence issues that you have. Listen to what's being said, but most importantly, listen out for names. If you're going to walk around a stand or you're going to walk around a group of people and there's someone there that you like the sound of, kind of hover a little bit, look at your phone, look at your business cards, do something, but all the time listening out to what's being said and listen to the names that are being used. Because then you quickly write those down or you jot those down on your phone, you go over, you meet someone, it's Robin, isn't it? Nice to meet you. And immediately think, how do you know my name? Because I just earwigged. Because I just heard what you said. I'm stalking you. That's what we're doing. So they become friendly faces. They become friendly faces. and you target the friendly faces first. Now the prey aspect sounds a bit dark, doesn't it? The inner wolf, and you're targeting prey. But let's think about what prey stands for. Prey means that those people are very positive in their responses to you. Very positive. So as a result, they're receptive to you as well. And because they're receptive to you, they're receptive to your business as well, and they are likely to be engaged in what you're saying. And you know when someone's genuinely engaged with what they're saying. And if you can get a positive response that's receptive to you and engaged, then you end up for the magical yes in sales. And that leads you to getting a yes. And that's where you might say, would it be okay for me to contact you after this event? Would it be okay for us to get together afterwards and have a conversation? Would you like me to send you some information? When you're looking for that yes, it's coming about because someone has been positive in their response, they're receptive, and they're engaged. Does that make sense? Happy with that? Yeah? Seems to make sense, doesn't it? So when we think about who you're talking to, our friends Matthew Dixon and Brent Adamson wrote about the challenger sale, the challenger way of selling. And it's definitely something you might want to read about because it looks at the different types of salespeople. But what it also does in their follow-up book, which was called The Challenger Customer, it looks at the different types of customer that you will deal with. Now this is a technical slide, and it's going to give you the 7 types of customer that you'll deal with at a networking event or generally when you go and pitch. And I think it's really important that you understand that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to selling. There's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not just about establishing the need or solving a problem, because some customers haven't got a need or a problem, so where are you going to go then? Some people don't want to be your friend when they engage you. They just want to get down to business. I'm sure you've dealt with people like that, haven't you? Where you go in and you think, oh, I'm going to be really friendly and really nice, and then they really cut to the chase. They get there, they don't want any of the fluff and flannel. Those people are looking for something different, and they form a different type. So what we've got is we've got 7 different types of customer. The one that we don't like is the blocker. The blocker isn't going to let you go anywhere. They're not the gatekeeper. They're not the gatekeeper, but they are a blocker. There's somebody who can't make a decision, but they will see suppliers. But they will block you if they don't like you, and they'll stop you from going forward. We've also got people who are what we call go-getters. Go-getters will always deliver more to you than you expected. So when you go in, you'll think you're getting something, and you'll get more than you hoped for, and you come away with a really positive feeling, which is really nice. These people are great to know. Then you get people who are the skeptics. They prepare other people in their business for problems that are going to arise. So they're really good at seeing the pitfalls about what you're offering. And what they do is they align you to their business if they believe in you. They'll say, you need to be doing this if you were to work for us. We would like you to do that because we've done this before and it didn't work. So they're really good at telling you the problems. They are skeptical, but it's really healthy. You've got the friend, and the friend is great, but they'll just sit there and talk at you all the time. They'll advocate you if they like you. So this is where you will go to a meeting for an hour, you spend 50 minutes talking about their holidays and what they did over the weekend, and 10 minutes only talking about business. And you can actually come away from that thinking that was the biggest waste of time. But if they like you, then they'll refer you and they'll engage you. And suddenly you get a little bit of business from it. The teacher is the person who wants to talk to you and tell you how to do things. They want to educate you. So this is the type of customer who will sit down with you, and their opening line will probably be, I think it's probably a good idea if I talk to you about how we work here, what our processes are, what our procedures are. And you think, oh, okay, here we go. And then it comes in. That's what you get. That's the teacher. They're great to have, but it means that the minute they spell all this information, you should be matching what you're doing with them. The guide is the person who will navigate you through their business, navigate you through, introduce you to different people, and talk to you about the different layers. And the darkest of the customer type is the climber. We sometimes describe people as being social climbers, don't we? They're just interested in people for what they can get to the next level. When we're dealing with customers, you can deal with very, very ambitious people in business who are looking to get to the next level. And what they do is they will buy you, but you have to make them look good to their managers or their directors. Because if you can make them look good, they will take you with them. And it's a really painful thing sometimes that you've got to do because you're thinking, hang on a minute, this is about me and my business. You invited me in and now somehow I'm supporting your career. But actually it pays dividends because not only will they take you up the business, but if they leave, they'll take you along as well. And they're called the climber. There's a lot of information about these, but these are the key types, and you can identify them when you go to networking events, and you can see these individuals there. So after you've been to a networking event, well, you just have to tell the world where you've just been, haven't you? That's what you've got to do. So you've got to tell them, I've just been to, and I've just done this. And then you've got to ask yourself, did you actually achieve what you were looking for? And if you got sidetracked, then you weren't fierce enough. You need to make sure that you're actually achieving what you were going to do. You need to sort the wheat from the chaff. So you're going to come away, you go to lots and lots of networking events, don't you? Loads of them. And you come away with a heap of business cards, you come away with a little goodie bag, you know, and you might get some sweets and chocolates, and they give you all sorts of stuff. I always say when you go to an expo, you can judge the quality of an exhibitor there by the quality of the chocolates they've got. If you're dealing with the Lindor people, then you know they're good. The Lindor people are quite good. The Lindt people are quite good as well. You see the Quality Street people? Mucky, you're going to have to drop your rates. It's true, it's true. I mean, it's bloody Quality Street now anyway. I mean, seriously, do you remember the days when they came in that really big tin? And now it's a small little plastic thing. What's that all about? No, Quality Street exhibitors we don't want. Lindor people we definitely want. Handmade chocolates, honestly, it's all there, it's all there, it's all there. And of course, you always go to these things where you see these as well, don't you? And you've got to fill up with your cards, you've got to put your cards in. So make sure that you've got something that you can collect cards with. And then, once you have done it, send an email to all those people thanking them. Nothing more. Give them something. So give them a piece of information about you as an attachment or a link, but thank them. It was lovely to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me or give me your card. You may not remember me because you saw so many, and I'd love to see you again. Do all of that. It's just courtesy. It's nice to do it. Record what you have and make sure you put it all on a database. So you should be recording what you've got, and you need to be updating that database for the quality stuff and the crap as well. So don't be frightened to weed people out. That's fine too. And lastly, pick up the phone once you've followed your email. So don't be frightened to phone them either. So just a quick thing on this. This might sound like I'm saying to you, pick up the phone always after you email somebody. Remember, this is about networking. So what you're doing is you're thanking them via email. But when you sell to them, you call them first and email after. It is the very foolish salesperson that sits behind their email and doesn't ever pick up the phone. People by people they trust, they like, and they believe in. They deal with people face to face. It's really good. We've got FaceTime, we've got Skype, we've got Zoom now. Talk to your clients over that. It's really, really good. Another thing you can do as well is if a client wants a meeting with you, your first point should be to say to them, would you like to do it over FaceTime or Skype? Because if you can do it over FaceTime or Skype, you haven't carved out a huge amount of time in their day where they're waiting for you to come in. You're doing it at their desk there and then. And it can save you heaps of time. I do so much business over Skype, and people think it's really good. They think, do you know what? And the number of times I have to have a meeting and I take hours out of my day waiting for people to turn up. You know, you've got to give them bloody coffee again. You do all of that. Do it over Skype. But just remember that when you do any form of business meeting over Skype, the little window that's got your face on it here, make sure it's got more than your face. You're not talking to your mum or dad, so you don't need to be like right there. You don't do that. Make sure that you utilize your stand on your iPad or on your computer, and make sure you sit back, showing a bit of the table. So it looks like you're sat at a table together. Let them see more of you, yeah? And if you're doing it from home, well, that's great, because you don't actually need to get dressed either if you don't want to. From the waist down, I tell you this, the number of times I do business meetings and I'm sat at my desk, I've got my dog here, and from the waist down I'm in my jammies, and up here I've got a polo shirt and tie. It's lovely to see you, Maddie. How are you? How's business? Yeah, really? That's fantastic. Then you get up, off it comes, jammies back on, yeah, a little bit of a box set. That's what you do, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Marvelous, marvelous. So make sure that you pick up the phone and talk to people or do stuff over Skype and FaceTime. It really does work. So just to remind you that when it comes to the statistics of sales, only 2% of sales are made on the first contact. So don't think that you're going to get a sale when you go to a networking event every time. Only 2% are made that way. And the reason they're made that way is because you got the timing right. And if ever you've been to a client and that client has said to you, do you know what, it's really good to see your timing is spot on because we are thinking about reviewing that, that's when you will get that sale. That's the 2%. Yeah? 80% of sales are made between the 5th and the 12th contact, and that means you've got to keep going and you've got to be persistent, because 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect, and only 10% of people make more than 3 contacts. And I really hope that you're part of that kind of 10%. I know I am, and I just keep going and keep asking and asking because you want to stay in the customer's mind. People want to do business with people they hear from. And I will leave you with this, with the knowledge that if a tree falls down in the woods and no one is there to hear it or see it, does it actually make any noise? And it's the same with you as business people. If no one sees you or hears from you and you're just waiting for that phone to ring, the fact is you don't exist because no one knows you're there. So get out, go and see people, meet people, channel your inner wolf, and make loads of money. Tons of it. Thank you very much.